Welcome everyone to episode number 2 of Talk Wrestling here with Jeff Meacham. We're here in the backyard of Casa de Meacham, and thank you so much to all of you who made it to the first episode a hit. So we've got like 3,000 views or something on YouTube, and we've got questions aplenty for the latest show, and we thank you all very much for that. And let's just get right into it. Alright, this is the first one from my Yahoo page. Thank you for emailing me on Yahoo. Drew808. Who do you think is the most marketable up-and-coming star in WWE and why? Mr. Kennedy, by far. And he's not really up-and-coming anymore. He's a main eventer now. Mr. Kennedy's their most marketable guy that they haven't given a world title run yet. So Mr. Kennedy's the guy. He's going to be the future of the company, by far. Once Cena... if Cena loses to anybody, if he hasn't lost it already, he'll lose it to Mr. Kennedy, I think. I really do. I think that, these flies are pissing me off. What do you guys think? I think that Mr. Kennedy's going to be the guy of the future, by far. Alright, here we go. The questions from my MySpace page. I got a shitload of questions, so thank you all for sending them in. The first one comes from Brandon Johnson. He wants to know how the person knowing of Chris Benoit's death, or Nancy Benoit's death, 14 hours before the police found her body, how that's being dismissed as a common lucky timing guess. It's not. The guy's computer was seized. He may be in trouble with the law. I've heard that there's going to maybe be some actions taken against him, so he's not being dismissed at all. I mean, he said it was a coincidence that Nancy really was dead, and he was just guessing at it. But I've heard there's going to be some legal action taken against him, so he's not being dismissed just yet. Don't worry about that. He'll be in trouble. It's very funny that it came from Stamford, Connecticut. I don't know how that ties in, but we'll have to see. Alright, this one's from Greg Prowse. I wanted to get your opinion on TNA. What do you think about their booking and not being able to get a lot of guys over as definite heels and baby faces? And also, a quick word on the six-sided ring. I think it looks stupid, and the novelty factor for me wore off a long time ago. I can't remember the last time they worked in a traditional ring. Well, the six-sided ring thing is a novelty, but I like a six-sided ring. I think we had a really cool thing going in Adrenaline when we had that one show that I worked at. And I think the six-sided ring's a good idea. I think it livens things up a little bit. It's different, which is different from most wrestling companies out there in the United States, Canada, and the world. I think it's cool. I personally like the six-sided ring, my opinion. As far as the booking goes with the heels and baby faces, yeah, it seems like they can't make the mind on Kurt Angle. They finally got him over as a heel, finally. Samoa Joe's kind of a tweener right now, sitting there and headbutting Kurt Angle on Impact the other night after he was going to be a sportsman. And Team 3D are heels now. What the hell's up with that? Team 3D are baby faces. Why are they turning them heel? No, tear. I'm sad. And the Steiner brothers, are they going to be baby faces? Are they going to be heels? What's going on with that? I mean, Scott Steiner is one of the biggest jerks in the company. He's supposed to be a heel, and they're pushing them as baby faces because Team 3D are heels. So it's very interesting. I don't necessarily agree with that. I think they should have definitive, good guys and bad guys, heels and baby faces, or baby faces and heels, as I said it. I think they need to change their booking strategy by far. I agree with you, Greg. Good question. Alright, we got a couple questions from Jeffrey I'm going to answer. One we're going to answer right now, we'll answer the other one later on in the show. First one is, Rey Mysterio and Chavo Guerrero had some great matches for the WWE Cruiserweight Championship. He even once won the championship on a main event of SmackDown for Rey Mysterio. Do you think they should main event now on SmackDown? Do you think they could? I think they could have a great main event match on SmackDown for the Cruiserweight Championship. I think it's a ready-built feud. Chavo's the one that put Rey on the shelf, so to speak, with that knee injury. We were there live for that, actually. Myself and Jade, my brother, were there to see that injury go down, where Rey was hanging upside down from the trellis, and Chavo just beat the hell out of him. So it's a ready-made feud, and I think Rey Mysterio coming back, wanting to do that storyline again, I think is a great idea. I think he could definitely main event on SmackDown with Chavo. It'd be a great Cruiserweight title match, and hopefully they'll do it. Jeffrey, we'll get you the other question a little bit later, okay? This is from Chris Combs. Wasn't that an announcer in WCW at one point, or was it Chris Cage? I don't know. Anyway, do you think WWE will ever bring back Paul Heyman to run ECW and maybe try to make it a success? No. Paul Heyman is not going to come back, unfortunately. I mentioned this in the last show. That's what they need to do to bring him back and make it a success, but they won't do it. Paul Heyman's been sent home for a reason. Vince McMahon didn't like the direction ECW was going, and he blamed Paul for it. And I think that was wrong of him because it was very much in WWE's direction, not Paul E's direction. So, but they won't bring him back ever. Chris has another question. Is WWE making the mistake by acting as if Chris Benoit never existed? Yes. I think taking him out of the history books is a mistake. He was world champion, he was Intercontinental champion, he was world tag team champion, WWE tag team champion. I don't think they should just completely delete him from history. I think they should acknowledge the fact that he was around, but they should definitely not acknowledge him on television. WWE.com and television are two different things, and I think they're making a mistake by taking him off WWE.com. Greg Cherry, the Pennsylvanian sensation himself. He wants to know, what do you think the problems are in TNA that so many wrestlers are asking for their release? Conan, Ron Killings, and reportedly half a dozen other talent. I don't really know what the problem is in TNA, Greg, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, I don't really see a problem with TNA. I think their schedule's lighter. I think they have more days off. I would think people would be happy with TNA, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm not really sure if... I'm not really sure. I mean, Conan's problem was the fact that he was injured, and Ron Killings' problem was the fact that he was injured and he wasn't getting paid or whatever it was. And, guys have a problem with not getting paid. That's what wrestlers are in this to do. They're in there to make money, and they're not making the right money, or Conan wasn't making money, or Conan was hurt and wasn't making money. So, that's their problem. I think the overall problem with TNA right now is just lack of TV time and lack of talent being used properly, but I don't think that there's a really big problem as far as why everybody's leaving. They just need to work on utilizing their talent better, in my opinion. Alright, this next one comes from Mackie, and he wants to know, with the rumors of Ric Flair's retirement match coming up in the next year, my question is, who do you think Ric Flair's final match should be with, and who do you think it will be with? I think it should be with a guy like Triple H, a guy like Randy Orton, possibly somebody he's never even faced before, or like a Mr. Kennedy, or just somebody that would really give him a really good send-off. Who do I think it will be with? Probably Triple H or Randy Orton, because or maybe even Batista. That could be a possibility too. But I don't think they'll give Flair a really bad send-off. I think Flair will get the proper send-off that he deserves. He's the legend. He's the greatest wrestler of all time, by far. And I think he'll get a proper send-off by WWE. WWE respects the hell out of his accomplishments, respects the hell out of him. So hopefully whoever they pick to be his final match, or whoever Flair picks to be his final match, will be a good pick. Alright, our next question comes from Muerto Como La Noche. He said, do you think Randy Orton would be the best choice to be the next WWE champion, or would you think another wrestler is more deserving? For example, Mr. Kennedy. I think Kennedy's definitely a deserving WWE champion. I think he would be a great WWE champion. He's been ready for a long time, believe it or not. I mean, he's only been in WWE for a couple years now, but he's been ready. The guy is a stud. The guy knows what he's doing on the mic. The guy knows what he's doing in the ring. He's a great athlete. I think he's ready. Orton, I think also, believe it or not, I think that Randy Orton is ready for another world title run. I think he'd be a great heel WWE champion. Somebody's got to take Cena down eventually. Somebody's got to beat Cena for the title eventually. It's going to happen. And if he goes off to make another movie like is rumored, then he's going to need to have the title off him for a little while. So hopefully somebody will do it, that will be over. Hopefully. We'll see. Alright, this is from a few different people, so I'm just going to throw it out there. What are my thoughts on the Great Khali being the world champion, and do you think it was a good idea? No, I don't think it was a good idea at all. I think that they could have picked a few different people to be the Great Khali's, Edge's replacement as world champion, and I think Edge being injured sucks. There was a question in there somewhere down here about the curse of the world championship that WWE.com brought up. Seems to be that way, doesn't it? Batista got hurt, Mysterio got hurt, Angle got hurt, Undertaker got hurt, and now Edge. I think that the Great Khali does not deserve to be world champion. He's been on all three brands of the company with very marginal success. Save for his feud, The Undertaker, he was pretty successful in that. But he's been beaten. He got beat by John Cena twice. It was a fluke the first time, but it happened. And it was very much like Umaga. Umaga was an unstoppable monster, and then Cena beat him, and it was like, oh, we can beat him, cool. And then Lashley beat him at WrestleMania. I think Great Khali's time is over. I think he should very happily settle into retirement, honestly. I don't think Great Khali should have been world champion, and that was a mistake by WWE booking. Alright, back to Jeffrey's other question from earlier. WWE should bring a title back. They should unify the World Heavyweight and WWE Championship and the World Tag Team with the WWE Tag Team Championship. Then they should bring back the European Championship. What do you think? No. They don't need any more championships. They've got a great balance right now on SmackDown and Raw and ECW. of a world title on each brand, a tag title on each brand, a secondary title on each hand, and an exclusive title. Women's on Raw, Cruiserweight on SmackDown. I don't think you need any more championships in WWE. They don't need to unify anything like they had back when the brand extension first started. I think they've got a great story going right now. I think they've got a great idea right now as far as the championships. Leave it the way it is, perfectly honest with you. Alright, this is from Emmanuel. Between Chris Jericho and Mr. Kennedy, who do you believe has the better mic skills? Both seem rather intelligent individuals, but what are your thoughts on this? That's a really good question. Thank you, Emmanuel. Jericho in his day was one of the best talkers I ever saw. He was right up there with The Rock and Austin and Hogan and all those guys. I think Kennedy, for his day, is also a great talker. If you want to compare them, I honestly think that Kennedy is not quite up to Jericho's level yet. I really believe that. I think Kennedy is right on the cusp of reaching Jericho's level, but he's not quite there yet. Jericho was one of the best talkers the business ever saw, and he cut some of the best promos I've ever seen. I think Kennedy, with a few more months experience, maybe even a year or so experience, will be right up there with Chris Jericho. This is from Mike. He wants to know, what are your thoughts on Rey Mysterio being on drugs? I think that the media is blowing that way out of proportion, I think. Yes, he's allegedly seen Dr. Aston, but I don't think it's going to come, I don't think anything's going to come of it. I think that Rey Mysterio definitely bulked up in the last few years, but you know, I don't think he's on steroids, or if he is, he'll be drug tested and he'll fail the drug test. It's as simple as that. I don't think that, damn flies are everywhere out here in this damn backyard, I'm telling you. I don't think that Rey Mysterio seeing Dr. Aston will be anything major. I think they'll dismiss it, honestly. They're headhunting Dr. Aston. They're really going after this guy, and rightfully so, but I don't think Mysterio will be implicated for anything. I think that he'll be fine. Alright, this is from a different Mike. It seems to me that TNA is holding in a lot of the talent that has been there pre-Spike TV days, and in some cases even deep pushing pretty much anyone that's considered X Division, for example, Petey Williams. That seems to be the case, because his other part of his question is, do you think that Joe versus Angle is getting old? Yes, I do. And this winner-take-all match is stupid. Very much so. The tag team title should be defended by a tag team, not by Samoa Joe only. And Kurt Angle is not, I repeat, not the IWGP champion. He's the champion of Antonio Inoki's new company, the IGF. The IWGP Championship was stripped from Brock Lesnar back in October of last year. They just happen to have a belt that says IWGP on it, but he's not the IWGP champion. I think that Joe versus Angle is done. I think they should let it go. I think that having a winner-take-all match is silly. If it was for the world title versus the X Division title, maybe I'd buy it. But since it's for the tag team titles and the IGF title, it's too much. It's too old and it's too much. And I think that Angle versus Joe's time is done. They need to build new feuds, and they need to start pushing some of these guys, like a Petey Williams, like a Shark Boy, like, you know, those guys that have been there since the glory days, or since the early days of TNA. They haven't really had glory days yet, but since the early days that haven't been deep pushed lately. So I think Joe versus Angle's time is done. Once Hard Justice is over, hopefully they'll move on from that feud. Alright, this question comes from Anthony on my MySpace. He wants to know what my take is on the whole Vince thing. I mean, he screwed up so bad. He screwed up the explosion thing after coming back on TV, saying it was all fake, and then he disappeared again. I think Vince had to come back on TV after the whole Benoit thing went down. I think it was a necessary thing for Vince McMahon to do, to appear on TV and saying, you know, yes, my character Mr. McMahon passed away, but I'm really alive, and unfortunately one of our own has passed away. I think if they really wanted to, they could have gotten away with having the storyline continue the week after the Benoit tragedy and just go with it, but they decided not to, and they decided to move on, which is really unfortunate, because a lot of people were getting into the death of Mr. McMahon's storyline, and people were actually watching wrestling again. For those people that weren't watching, they were actually watching again, and now they're not again, apparently, from what I've understood. But I don't think he screwed up. I think it was necessary for him to come back on TV and, you know, explain the situation and deal with the Benoit tragedy. So it wasn't a mistake. It's just, it was necessary. Alright, the next one's from Dan D. Do you think WWE and TNA should have an off-season like the NFL, NBA, and so on? That's a really good question. That's been brought up numerous times in the various media outlets. I don't know if an off-season would work with WWE or TNA or the wrestling business because they've been a year-long business for so long. I think that if a guy really needs that much time off, he can just take the time off. I mean, WWE's made it very clear. If you need to take a break, you can take a break. Benoit himself took a break for a couple of months back in 2006. I don't think that an off-season would work for WWE, TNA. I mean, guys can take their own off-season and take their own break, but I think a general off-season for the whole company would be a very, very bad idea because the fans wouldn't like it. The fans would fight on it. I really believe that. All right, Alvaro wants to know, who would win a Falls Count Anywhere match between Samoa Joe and Randy Orton? That's an interesting question. I think that it would be pretty much, as JR would say, a slobber knocker. I think they'd both beat the hell out of each other because Randy Orton has been proven to do well in hardcore matches and Falls Count Anywhere matches and those type of matches. And Joe's a killer. We've seen Joe in TNA. We've seen Joe in Ring of Honor. I think they would pretty much put each other to the test. I really do. I think that overall Joe's size and his strength would overcome Randy Orton. And I think these flies are getting in my way and they're bugging the crap out of me. And I think that in the end, Samoa Joe would win that match. I think that Joe's just sheer size and strength would overcome the Legend Killer, in my opinion. All right, this is from Joseph Souter on my Yahoo page. Excuse me. I'm a Johnny Spade / Blaze / Nitro / Morrison fan myself, but I'm just not getting the necessity of the name change once again. Why not just change the name to John Heineken, which is actually his birth name, believe it or not? I'm sure a rock star type gimmick could be pulled off without a name change. Johnny Nitro was a great name in my humble opinion. Your thoughts? Yeah, I think that's really stupid. I think that if he's going to change his name, it should be to John Heineken, which is his real name. Everybody knows he won Tough Enough 3 as John Heineken. Everybody knows his name is John Heineken. I think the John Morrison thing, going like Jim Morrison, is kind of stupid. I think that Johnny could have pulled it off very well as John Heineken, or Johnny Heineken, or whatever you want to call him. But Johnny Nitro was a great name. He's been Johnny Nitro for, the better part of 2.5 years. And I think changing his name now is really stupid. I think he had a great thing going, and changing his name will be a mistake for Johnny Nitro. All right, this one's from Johnny Watts. He wants to know my opinion on Paul London. I think Paul London is a great athlete. I think Paul London's a tremendous WWE superstar. I think he hasn't been given near enough credit. I mean, yeah, he and Kendrick held the tag team titles longer than almost anybody, except for save a few teams. I think he'd be a great Cruiserweight champion, like long-term Cruiserweight champion. He was Cruiserweight champion for a little while, but I think he'd make a great long-term champion if he was put on his own. I think he and Kendrick deserve to be World Tag Team Champions on Raw. They could have a great feud with Cade Murdoch and win the titles from them and have a good long feud. I think they'd have a great feud with a bunch of different tag teams if WWE had a good tag team roster. I think London would have a great feud on SmackDown. If they moved him back to SmackDown, he could feud with Chavo, he could feud with Jimmy Wang Yang, he could feud with Rey Mysterio, he could feud with anybody. London's a great talent, and I think he shined best in Ring of Honor, but I think he'd do a really good job in WWE if they let him have the opportunity. Alright, the last one from MySpace comes from Stan the Man. He wants to know, was Jeff Hardy better off in TNA? Are you kidding me? No. Jeff Hardy is better off in WWE where he belongs. TNA, he got a mild main event push, and then he was pushed into the mid-card like everybody else was in TNA back then, except for Jeff Jarrett. Jeff Hardy already has been Intercontinental Champion a few times. He's been World Tag Team Champion with his brother again. He has a chance to be Intercontinental Champion again soon. If he's not already. I think that Jeff Hardy's much better off in the big company with WWE. I think he's getting a better push there. TNA didn't know what to do with Jeff Hardy, and honestly, with the time that he was in TNA, Jeff Hardy was going through some problems. So I don't think he's better off in TNA whatsoever. He's much better off with World Wrestling Entertainment. All right, this is from Bill the Champ Reaper, I think is his name on MySpace. When do you think Triple H will make his return, and who do you think his next feud will be? I think they've planted the seeds for several different options. He's more likely coming back at SummerSlam, and King Booker's a definite possibility after he came out to Triple H's King of King music not too long ago. I think Mr. Kennedy would be a great option for Triple H to feud with, and there's also the ready-made feud with Randy Orton, because it was Rated RKO's match with DX that put Triple H on the shelf back in January. But whatever happens, Triple H will be back. He'll be a force to be reckoned with, and I think he'll be better off on his own for a while. No more DX, no more, coming out and doing sophomoric stuff. Coming out as the game will be better for Triple H right now. And I think he'll have a feud no matter who he comes with. It'll be a great feud. Thank you very much for all of you that have watched today. Thank you very much for those of you that sent in questions. For those of you that didn't get your questions answered, stay tuned to the next show. We'll get your questions answered, I promise. If you send in more questions, we may get to them eventually. It's going to take a while, but because like I said, the show's a hit. I can't explain it either, but it happened. Oh, to somebody that asked if I sprained my wrist masturbating, no, I had tendonitis. So thank you for your idiotic question. I got it from work, believe it or not. I actually got it going across the scanning bill at Target. So I hurt myself at work. I didn't whack off too much. It's not even the right hand, people. I'm not a switch hitter. Anyway, myspace.com/Jeff Meacham, nodq.com. For those of you that missed on the first show because it was edited out, check out Josh Tariff, my old buddy from the old XMV days and the IWC. Check out his new thing, which is myspace.com/theclick, C-L-I-K, theclick, C-L-I-K, music, myspace.com/theclick music. He's got a great new group going. He's going to be hanging out with me in the next few days, so I want to make sure I get a plug out for him. And check out YouTube for the show, check out MySpace for the show, check out NoDQ.com for the show, and go to the forums, NoDQforums.com. They got a great source of information for everything, mainstream wrestling, TNA wrestling, babes and celebs, yeah, and the Women of Wrestling page and everything. So check it out, and we'll see you on the next episode of Talk Wrestling.